All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, thank you so much for coming to our all-church gathering where you're going to get an opportunity to hear from some of our staff members and our leadership team, just giving a quick, brief update on what's going on in the life of the church. This is our second all-church gathering with me as a helm. Our first one was back on January 26th, and moving forward, we'll probably keep this rhythm. Having one in the winter, we're not going to be set on either January or August, but one in the winter, one in the summer, just as a rhythm so that we can keep updating you on what's going on in the life of the church. Yes, some of them, there may be more pressing items. This one, I don't feel that there's as many pressing unless something comes out in Q&A, okay? But it is a way to be transparent and to stay on the same page. There are important spaces for us to celebrate, to share updates, and to have a place for your questions and conversation. Our theme that we started in January, you can see it up behind me, is GET. So growing together, engaging fully, and trusting the future. Pat Holfacker, our chair of the leadership team, came up with this, and we've been trying to lean into this for this year. So that's why we gather like this, to grow in understanding, to engage with what God is doing among us, and to build trust as we move forward together. So we also have amazing people that help this church run. So if you are part of our staff, would you go ahead and stand? That's not even close to what we do with Imagination Station and with all of Allison's crew. It takes a lot of people to make what we're doing here exist and be accomplished in the way that it is. Also, if you are part of our leadership team, I would like you to please stand just to be acknowledged. Thank you so much for being here. As always, as I shared a little bit in worship, if you have any questions, it doesn't always have to be to me, because oftentimes I'm going to other staff members and specific items or the leadership team. But leadership team, staff, or myself, we will make sure that when you ask questions, when you bring up ideas, that they are heard and that we respond in the ways that we can. Okay, so let us pray. God, thank you for this church. Thank you for this church family. Thank you for the work you are doing among us and for opportunities that lie ahead. God, we pray that you keep us open, that you keep us courageous and faithful as we continue to grow, engage, and trust you with the future. Lord, we pray this in your holy name. Amen. I would now like to invite Kelly Lego to come up and give you a brief update on worship growth and creative engagements, and also, of course, our children, youth, and families.
I want to first start and say thank you for the smooth transition as I've went from completely youth to now youth and hospitality. All right, here we go. Summer is usually one of the trickiest seasons for worship attendance. Between summer sports, vacations, cookouts, and just being a little too worn out from too much sun on Saturday, fewer people tend to make it worship each week. So how did we do this summer? We averaged 201 people in worship each week. That's down about 8% from last year. Now, that's not a surprise. If you remember, last year we had the brand new shiny pastor that everybody wanted to come out and look or check out. Well, the new pastor effect is worn off a bit, but here's the good news. We are actually up 2% from the summer attendance 2 years ago and 5% from 2001. So even with the usual summer dips, people are still showing up, encouraging, and staying connected. That's what really matters. All things considered, it was a fantastic summer of creative worship. Our music and praise continued to be a part of our service, with Rhonda and our talented team of musicians finding ways to keep it fresh while still honoring the familiar songs that we love. We leaned into tradition that has deepened our faith while we're finding new ways to connect with God and each other. We had several incredible guest speakers this summer, including the youth, retired clergy, and some of our favorite church lay leaders. We got creative with technology, streaming live from Gen Con, one of the largest annual gathering in the Midwest. And for the summer attendance blues, well, we decided to embrace it instead of fight it. We encouraged each of you to use our online services as well as take little Jesus with you wherever you went. And wow, you did. You took little Jesus on vacation to backyard barbecues, and we shared nearly 5,000 little Jesuses this summer. So thank you for worshiping with us and encourage every one of you that weren't physically in the building and for taking a little piece of the SUMC out into the world. God is at work, and it's amazing to see how each of you participated in that mission, while in person or online. All right, now we're going to talk about the children and youth. I'm a little more comfortable with this topic. All right, our children and youth have kept us busy this summer. I'd like to share just a highlight. On Sunday morning, our children's ministry welcomed between 20 and 25 students each week. During the summer, they combined into one big class, and it turned out to be a success. The children loved being together, and we made great use of our outdoor spaces. We used the side here and the main playground for Sunday children's church. Our youth group has been strong too. We've averaged anywhere from the 8 that we had this morning to about 18. Over the summer, they learned about numbers, not the book of Numbers, but numbers and how they correspond in the Bible. And for the next, I think about 10 weeks, they're going to go through the book of Esther, talking about how God uses ordinary people to do good things. It hasn't been just about Sundays and Sunday school lessons. We've had incredible events this summer. One highlight was Vacation Bible School, True North. We had 35 children participate that dove into Bible stories, music, and games that all pointed towards trusting Jesus as their guide. It took a big team to make that happen. 25 dedicated helpers gave their time, energy, and creativity to make sure that children felt loved and had fun. It was a powerful week of planting seeds of faith. On top of that, we enjoyed movie night. We had a water games night in June. We even took a trip to Freedom Springs. Through all these activities, our kids and youth got to connect with one another and experience God's love in real life. I just want to say thank you to the parents who brought their kids and the volunteers who gave their time and energy. To all who keep praying for the youth, keep that up. It really does take the whole church to make this happen. I want to make sure that we all remember the children and youth are not just the future of the church. They are a vital part of our church right now. They remind us of God's joy, curiosity, and love in ways that we sometimes forget as an adult, especially when they're making a joyful noise during the service or running through the halls. We don't always encourage it, but sometimes you just get caught up with the joy of being with your friends that you may only see on a Sunday. Now, before I wrap it up, here's a shameless plug. We are looking for some teachers in children's church and volunteers with the youth. For the youth, we'd especially be great for some female leadership, but honestly, if you have a heart for young people, we wouldn't turn away the help. And one more important note, we are also looking for nursery workers. This is a paid position, so we ask that you're 18 or older. And if you're interested to please talk to Allison or any of the staff. So let's keep encouraging these kids, showing up for them, and cheering them on as they grow in their faith. God is doing some really special things here, and I'm excited to see where he takes us next. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Maggie Lucas, and I have the wonderful pleasure of being your discipleship guide, coordinator, really helping each person grow, not just individually, but together. And I have to be grateful to Pat, because his idea of a theme touched exactly what you are doing in your small groups, and your studies, in your community outreach. We're growing together. We're engaging fully in our church and in our community, and we're stepping out and trusting that future. We do that together. So for small groups and studies, we don't measure our small group or our studies on attendance. No, we rather prefer to talk to the participants and find out from them and the leaders what they're learning, how they're growing, especially their personal growth, and where we can support them. Are they supporting one another? Are they growing deeper in their faith? That's our measure of successful small groups. And on one occasion, we had a small group change their meeting place. The purpose of that was to support someone who couldn't get to the church. So, that shows the love they have for one another, the connection they have. And it's so important that we see that in our groups. Now we have a new group. The newest one this year is Fear Not. They meet every Tuesday at 7 p.m. And I've heard they're off to a great start. Their attendance goes up and down depending on the need of their participants to be here. But I'm confident that what they're doing is building their lives stronger together. Now, also, we're going to kick off a church-wide study again. I think you've heard a little bit about Come and See, the Gospel of John. And it's going to start September 2nd, and it's true. You don't have to be at every one. I've seen the outline. If you attend one class, you're going to learn something from John. If you attend all of them, you're going to learn a little bit more. But it's up to you. Come, enjoy the fellowship, and I'm hopeful that as you come and meet together, we may start another small group. The spotlight on community outreach. Sometimes you think a spotlight should focus on just one thing. Okay, here we go. Here's our spotlight. Well, with our outreach team, that's impossible. They have had a tremendous impact on our community this year. We had the pancake dinner, again, that was not our first one, but the taco dinner on Cinco de Mayo, that was our first one, and huge attendance. We touched 200 people, not just with the food, but with the fellowship, the music, and the love of Christ. And with, of course, Brandon's favorite, the upcoming Fall Festival, and monster trucks. The chili cook-off, my husband's favorite. And we can still use volunteers for both chili cook-off, trunk or treat, or just the Fall Festival in general. We have a new community outreach this year, another new one. We're going to have a Thanksgiving dinner Saturday before Thanksgiving. And we look forward to providing that community love that we did with our taco dinner, where people not only feel fed, but they know that Christ is right there in their midst. And I know you want to be a part of that celebration. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the success we had this year with our Human Relations Day. For those who don't remember, that was Martin Luther King weekend, and we were able to provide wonderful items, really, food mostly, to the families from Jubilee Christmas. And we plan on continuing that going forward. It was such a success. And we have actually received a grant from Metro Ministries that's going to assist us with that work and with other community outreach. We already used part of the grant for the home craft night. We were able to do bounce houses, in part thanks to that grant. The last thing I'd like to talk about are your seed grants. We had 5 applications submitted, and these applications were tremendous in the thought put into them and the way we can serve the community. We went forward with one this year, but there's no reason we can't go forward with others. There was nothing, there were some considerations that kind of put a temporary hold on a couple of them, but we think we can overcome those in the future. So, seed grants are fantastic. The hope, helping our people eat, was a tremendous way to reach to our community this summer. We hope to expand that next year. And we look forward to starting other seed grants. That is all I have. Praise and thank you for all the work you do. It is not the staff that goes out there and touches our community.
So finances, that's the most exciting part of the day, right? Somebody gave it a woot woot, awesome. So going back to get, grow, engage, transparency, and apparently we thought transparent wasn't quite clear enough. That's a joke, get it, transparent, clear? So we added trust in the future. So finances touches on all of those, but of course transparency is a big part of our finances. Nothing is not open to you guys. Hopefully you know, you see the finances in the newsletter every month. I'm always available. Mindy's always available for questions as well, and we're happy to answer anything you might need to know about what's going on with the church's finances. But one thing we did last year, if you recall, is we paid off our debt. And you can see that on these charts. It's that little one right down there. We'll talk about those other later. But just 5 years ago, we had about $865,000 in debt. That's a lot. That's really close to that big million marker up there. And in just a few short years, we got that all the way down to zero. In fact, it's about right at a year right now when we officially paid off our debt last year. So, woohoo, good job. And we made a promise with that. With that What If campaign, we made a promise, and that's on this next slide. And it went something like this. We said it a bunch of different ways, but it was, what if we paid the mortgage off to free ourselves from this burden and allow us to explore new opportunities that offer grace and hope to everyone we can. And of course, we put some more skin to those bones and said we're hoping to offer new ministries. We're hoping to do new things, find new ways to serve in our community. And as Maggie touched on seed grants was a big part of that. But there was other ways too, and we'll talk about that just a minute. But I want to show you a little something. I think there's something called illusion of scale going on. I've heard a couple people say that they weren't really sure how we were doing that. They remembered that promise and said, okay, what's that looking like? They couldn't think of things off the top of their head. So little Jesus is going to help us out with an example and show you what illusion of scale is. So that's one little Jesus. This next slide is 6 little Jesuses. Big difference, right? This next slide is 100 little Jesuses. The next slide is 105 little Jesuses. It's hard to tell the difference, but it's the same change. We have always been a faith community that has had serving at its heart. We go back decades of really being in this community and the world and serving in some really powerful ways. So thank you all for being that. But no, we have had some really good intentionality about it. So let's, increasing that. We are doing our best to make good on that promise of increasing our presence in the world and serving in more ways. So let's look at the same thing we did with little Jesus, but look at our ministries. So this next slide, it lists the ministries or opportunities that are new this year. So Hope, helping our people eat, that was one from the seed grant. We just, as Maggie just said, we know we have some more that are probably going to happen next year. We're going to continue offering those seed grants. It's one of the ways that we say, guys, what should we be doing? And you say, let's do this. So you'll see that early next year. Another round of those seed grants being offered to establish new ministries. So helping our people eat. Caring after Christmas, that's that day that Maggie was talking about. She called it, what'd you call it, Maggie? It was on Martin Luther King Day. Yeah, so that one was something we decided to do almost on a dime. Like it was the district, the conference was doing something and promoting it, and Pastor Williams said, can we come up with something? And we did in a very short period of time, something that was very impactful to those families, I think. We wouldn't have been able to make that and decide to do that on a dime so easily if we had all that debt still. We had like 70 people show up and serve. on that day. So we did a lot of things. We partnered with the Jubilee families from last year and provided some really nice packages for them of food and household necessities. And we did several other little small projects. We did like 200 of these like toothpaste and grooming kits, hygiene kits, yes. And we were able to take those to, we partnered with our current ministry, Feed a Need, and gave those out to those and several other places. And I know I'm probably missing a project or two as well, but we did 3 or 4 projects that day and had a great day of serving. The Independence Day Parade, another 70, 80 people that was able to be out in the community and really sharing what Southport United Methodist Church is about with the community. The Taco Night, that was a brand new one this year. We had 200 people come to that. We had probably, 30, 40 people that served at that meal and were able to volunteer in some sort of way. The Fear Not Anxiety Support Group, I'm going to throw that in there because I think it's a very valuable addition to the things we do around here. Anxiety is real. I think it's amazing that that has spurred up and that we can offer that. The community night we just did over at Homecroft. In years past, it's been an either or. We either did the fall festival or we did something in partnership with Homecroft because neither of them are cheap, just to be honest. We're doing both this year. And we're planning this big old community turkey dinner right before Thanksgiving, which, that's quite the feat to do, I think. I think we're hoping to hit that around that 200 mark that we feed for that one as well. And, of course, that will engage another 40 or 50 people in service. So well over 250 serving opportunities this year that we didn't have last year. But when we add that in, and I'm sorry, one more slide, and several other things that we already did, but we've kind of made bigger this year. The Fall Festival is a great example of that coming up. So that's that slide. And then the next one is probably not all, but a lot of the stuff that we did previously. And then the next one's putting it all in that we added this year. So we've added a lot, but we already did a lot. So we have an amazing impact, and that ties directly into our finances. But the main reason I share that here is I think it's important to show that we are fulfilling the things we said we did with that What If campaign. And if you've got any questions, let me know. Okay, actual more straight up to finances. Yeah, that's just them side by side. So 3 charts there. That top one, and these are things that I think it's important to look at as an organization to look at our financial health. And these are all 5 years worth of information. And they're all as of end of June, so first half of the year. So top one is net revenue. So that's all the money coming in versus all the money coming out. And you see sometimes it's above that line, sometimes it's below the line. So my speculation is probably part of the reason it's below the line for those 3 years there is because even though you guys are very generous, we do an amazing job, I think, overall, at doing our best staying healthy financially. When you do a big campaign like a debt elimination campaign, it can hit your budget a little bit because people do start giving to one thing versus the other. So we did, as of end of June, we were in the negative net for year to date for those 3 years. This year we are almost zero, and that's actually a really good place to be in. We're like $250 to the positive as of the end of June. Zero is a good thing for this stat. If it's too high, it probably means you're not doing enough. Obviously, it's too low, you can't sustain that forever, so you got to get that back up. So I think we're in a really good spot with that particular line item this year. And that's probably why you see some of that ebb and flow. Now, keep in mind, those numbers look big. One negative looks big, $50,000, and the negative seems huge. It is. But think about, again, that scale thing. For me at home, that's catastrophic, right? For us, that is like 5 to 6% over where we should have been at that point in the year. So not as catastrophic as it may seem, although not something we can keep doing forever. Cash on hand, that just means the money in our bank. That's our immediate cash. This doesn't include some of our investments. We do have some other money available to us that's in the bank. But as you can see, it was higher, and then it is lower as of 2025, largely probably because when we pulled it into June, there was probably some money in the bank from that What If campaign that we just hadn't sent yet. But also we did have a little bit higher cash on hand there for a while. It's down a little bit this year. That's not necessarily a bad thing as long as that net revenue isn't going down. But what it does mean is it's harder to react to unplanned things. If something big comes up, you have to figure out a way to handle it versus you got it in the bank type of thing. So that's where we are. And of course, that debt being at zero, that's an amazing thing. That's a expense month to month. When we had that debt, that was $7,300 a month that we had as an expense that we no longer had. It was money that was just lost because if we would have paid out that loan, it would have been $1 million in interest we would have lost that we didn't have to lose, that we can actually use for ministries. So huge to pay off that debt. Overall, I think we're in a pretty good spot financially, but there's always work to be done. Next slide just gives you a breakdown of where our money comes from. So there's 3 main buckets. Your giving is 2 of those buckets. The biggest bucket there, 49%, is your budget giving. That's your tithes and offerings that you just give and say, here you go, we're glad that you're the church. Thank you, here's our part of the offering. That next bucket, the 11%, is your designated giving. So that's the funds that you say, you've got these other, we've got these other things we can do. I want these to go to something specific. Pastor's ministry, pastor's benevolence, faith promise, those type of things. Church improvement, we have a designated fund for that. That's that little bucket. We absolutely need that bucket. It is very helpful. What we can't do, though, is when we ask for those extra things, we rely on that budget bucket to stay pretty consistent. And that's one of the reasons, and it's just human, right? That other slide where you saw the dip down into the red, it's just natural when you do a big campaign asking for that designated stuff, which is what we did with the What If Debt Elimination campaign. And that third bucket is a pretty important bucket too. That's Imagination Station income. So that's our weekday childcare ministry, the daycare and preschool. Right now they make up about 40% of our total income. That's gone up a little bit over the years. It's a blessing that we have them. It's an amazing thing that helps us function as the institution we are in a very real way. They act as a ministry. They're some of the most affordable childcare in the area, if not the most affordable, and definitely quality to cost. I would put them against anyone in the country probably. So an amazing program. Allison does an amazing job with that, and really critical to our financial health. We are very symbiotic. We need them and we use them and they need us type of thing. So a great relationship to have there, and they are flat out a part of us. So we talk about them kind of over here, but the way we're structured, Imagination Station is a part of Southport United Methodist Church Company. And the last thing I do want to talk about just briefly is the structure. Mindy's going to go into depth about our staffing structure here in a minute. But just to let you know, I'm the assistant pastor here. I have a history. My previous role was the financial officer here. So I'm less in the day-to-day of the finances, but still holding on to some of the big picture, kind of helping guide, helping pay attention. So I still can answer questions. I'm happy to answer questions. But Mindy is an amazing resource, too. She is quickly grasping everything and coming right along. So we're hand in hand with finances. We're very much a team on that, and of course that extends to Pastor William leadership team and many others too. Michaela plays a big role in the day-to-day of the finances, but me and Mindy for sure, we both play that role. Sorry, I'm going long-winded, but one more little bit on transparency. We do have an audit process, so it basically takes 2 of us to do anything for finances on the staff. But we do get reviewed. We have some volunteers that do a monthly review, and we have volunteers that do an annual review. So our finances are open book. It can be looked at. The only exception to that, and anyone, we are happy to share anything with anyone with the exceptions of benevolence. We don't share names on benevolence with anyone, and we don't share individual giving histories or what people are giving. But other than that, if you want to know, we're happy to share. That's part of that transparency thing, and that's how we build trust, hopefully. So if there's something that you think isn't clear, feel free to pull me or Mindy aside, or we'll set a meeting with us, and we're happy to talk to you about it.
Good morning, church. It is such a great opportunity to be here together. I wanted to share a little bit about our staffing, and I believe we have a slide on that because, I've been a member here 18 years. I've been on staff about 6 months. And because we do a lot of crossover and we support and we're very much a team, I didn't always know who did what on staff. And we wanted to just share a little bit about that. You also have this information in the little handout on the very back for you to see. So Pastor William, Pastor Brandon, myself, we meet on a weekly basis. We consider ourselves kind of the guiding principles for all the staff. However, that does not, minimize anything that our staff does. It's just to try to put some organization to help you know who to go to and to help the staff know who to go to. But as, Allison, she's everything children. You'll find me over in the children a lot because I have a passion for that. Maggie, and, she just talked about a lot of our community outreach. You'll find me in community outreach a lot because I have a passion for that. But really, as a church administrator, the pieces that fall under me are building maintenance, building safety and security, and finances, and very much hand in hand with Brandon and Michaela because we do have a lot of checks and balances that we do with our finances. So we've got that kind of arena to make sure that the facilities upkeep is done because this is, in a lot of instances, kind of a young building, but in most instances, it's kind of an old building. When I picture, what a church looks like, and, I'm from probably the early 1900s, what a church looks like, that's an old building to me. But this one's got a lot of years on it too, so we're constantly needing to do that upkeep, just as you have to on your home. And then, of course, you got Pastor William, and he has a heart for it all, and you're going to find him at our community events, and you're going to find him asking questions about finance, and he's going to be, helping guide what some of our small groups look like. But his main thing, worship. All of that falls under it. But so you've got Joe and you got Rhonda falling under that. And then you got Brandon. And as Brandon shared, he very much has a hand in helping to guide that overall financial wellness of the church. And then he is working a lot with that engagement, the outreach, and the ministries. So you see all of our talented individuals and staff that, work hand in hand with Brandon on that. We've made some changes this year in our staffing. I happen to be one of them. I know we talked about it in January. My job's not identical to what Kathy did. A lot of it's encompassing of what Kathy did, but Michaela's picked up some of what Kathy did too, and others on staff did as well. Kathy did do finance, but not to the same degree as what I'm doing it. I'm preparing the reports for leadership team and taking the minutes and reports into leadership team so that they can see the finances. And I'm probably, see me here more on Sundays and things like that. The other change that we made is we really saw that blend of hospitality and families. So that was the expansion of Kelly's role that you've seen. And we know as new people come into this church, their families, and they want to know how every single member of their family can get involved in the church. So that was kind of the blend of the youth that Kelly is excellent at, along with hospitality and families. So whether you have young folks with you when you walk through the door, or a little bit older folks, or you're all grown adults, your families. And we're here to welcome you and do the hospitality. And then as you see under me, there's a new person on staff that we just talked about. He's not new to the church. Art is here, and he is really working hand in hand with Phil right now, because sometimes Phil kind of wants to retire. So, as we're good about here at church, we're making sure that continuity of knowledge gets passed on. So Phil and Art are working hand in hand, And then I never want to forget the extremely important staff that we have at Imagination Station. You're not going to always see them here on Sundays. However, we do have one of the teachers right here in the room with us right now. But they're critical to the mission of this church. Those children that walk through our building each and every weekday are critical to the work that we do in serving this community. So you see a picture of some of the staff up there. They're amazing. You know, stop, talk to them, get to know them. But they are really helping us reach the youngest members of our community each and every day, one of which happens to be my grandson, and I'm very, very thankful for it. I was just talking to my daughter last night, and she was talking about how attached he is to the caring adults that work with him every day. And so I just wanted you to know, you'll see us carry over and help one another because we are a tremendous team, but then see who you can come to, you know, for answers, because, you know, you ask my husband and he's going to say any work day he's going to Brandon. Now they fall under me. So just to know, you know, we got talented staff that's organizing it, but Brandon's a great example. You know, he's played many roles in the church, and a lot of people still go to him for the very first role he played in this church, which was, you know, kind of the maintenance beyond being a member. So wanted you to have that at your hands. Please feel free to come to any of us, but if you have questions, this is just kind of a helpful guide. The other thing I wanted to quickly bring up, and I won't go into it too far, is something that I mentioned a minute ago that falls under me, the safety of the church. We've started a safety committee. We did have Homeland Security come out and do an evaluation of our building. We've had a couple of meetings now with our safety committee looking at that. We've got a group of folks that are looking at everything as far as like entry related. You know, how can we make sure that we're being hospitable and still keeping folks in the church safe? So we've got a group that's really looking closely and deeply at that. We also have individuals who are looking at the kind of training that we can offer, not only to staff, but also to key volunteers that are here, because we've got to keep everyone safe and welcome, you know, throughout the entire time, whether it's our children on weekdays or us on Sundays or our small groups that we have throughout the whole week, because, you know, I'm here at 10 o'clock one night and here comes another group in, you know, so we're open a lot. And we've got to keep things safe. So I just wanted you to know that there is a very dedicated group of individuals who are looking closely at how can we keep things safe. We've been in touch with the chief of police, who's going to come over and also do a walkthrough with that vision in mind. We do a lot of partnership with him, but he's going to come over and do that as well. Much, much more to come on that. We're going to have a big plan. We're probably going to do some practices. We'll be sharing a lot more because we don't want it to be a plan that just sits up on a shelf. So just wanted you to know that we are taking that into consideration as well.
Good afternoon. I'm Doug Lewis, and I serve on the leadership team, primarily functioning in a more of a trustee role. So I'm going to go over quickly a couple of facility improvements that we've incorporated since we last spoke. The first one, in no particular order, of course, is the upgrades that were made to the automatic doors on the main entry. You may recall that we had a pedestal out there that wasn't secured very well. The buttons didn't work very well. They were old technology. The batteries were always dying and that kind of thing. So that's all been upgraded to the newer technology. They work a lot better. So hopefully that is something that, if you need it, you're happy with. And if you're not, let us know. We've done a lot of other things too. You might have noticed the kneelers that are available now. Those were done with internal resources. Same thing applies to the new sound booth. I think people probably are aware also that we've done some painting in the gathering area and that main entry hallway. A lot of that was done with volunteer help as well. You may have noticed some new seat covers on the chairs out in the gathering area. So several things have been completed. We've got a couple things that are up and coming. You may recall that we had a lighting replacement project last year, it was last winter. That was all complete with the exception of these lights above the stained glass. That is going to happen here in the next few weeks. So that will kind of round out that whole project. You may also have noticed that our awning isn't out there anymore. So if you're not aware, that awning was struck by a truck, and it was damaged to the point that it was unsafe. We had to remove it. As it turns out, it's not repairable, so we're going to have to replace that. We're looking at various options to see what makes the most sense for us going forward. I don't know what that is yet, but there'll be more to come on that. And then the other open issue is the sewer problem that we've had off and on in the basement of the underground. That unfortunately has continued to be a problem this year. We've had a couple of backups down there, so we've got some experts that are coming in to work with us. In fact, next week we've been doing this, over time, but we've got some additional experts that are coming in this week to do some investigation, and hopefully we can get to the bottom of that and see what it's going to take to resolve it. All right, thank you.
I'm Sherry Davis, and I have the honor of serving on the leadership team. We're going to take just a couple of minutes and look ahead. I'm going to start off by telling you that for many years, Gary and I looked forward to paying off the mortgage on our home. And when we finally got to that point, we were very excited, started thinking of things that we had been processing about what we could do with those extra monthly payments. Well, we've talked a lot about increasing our savings, which everybody can afford to do, our retirement funds, and giving more to our church and to nonprofits that we were supporting. We even thought a little bit about travel, too. Well, as you would guess, it didn't take long after we paid off the mortgage, and really started before then. We were faced with some major, some not as major, home maintenance things. That had to come first before we did some of the other things like travel. Well, last year, as we know, here at church, we celebrated our 175th anniversary, and as has been mentioned, we paid off our mortgage debt, so we are now absolutely debt-free, and that's been quite a year for us, a lot of celebrating. My understanding is that most churches, many, never, become debt-free. So what has happened here through prayer and God's guidance and your generosity, we've done something that many churches never have the opportunity to do. We had a discussion over the years, we've been around here a few, so we've been through many discussions where it was, it was mentioned maybe the church, Southport United Methodist, should move somewhere else. Go somewhere where there were new housing developments, where it was more active and so forth. Every time that question would come up, it would be brought to the congregation, and overwhelmingly, it was always voted, no, we don't want to do that. We want to stay here in the Southport community. We wanted to be able to minister with the families and the community itself, on all the different businesses and the schools. And so that was our choice, that we would stay here and minister with God's love in a multitude of ways. We are debt-free, and we hopefully choose to remain so. But at the same time, we're very active in the community, as you've already heard. And as with our homes, we need to address many of the upcoming maintenance needs before us, and we have several. You know that this building has been around a long time. We've made repairs off and on, A lot of them have been, have been only when needed. And now we need to start looking at more major things to do to care for the building so we can continue to do what we do in not only in this community but even beyond. Our immediate need is to replace the roof, and we're talking about the roof everywhere. Its estimated cost to do that is $300,000. That's where we are right now with an understanding on that. So as with our homes, we know that if we had a roof problem at home and it had to be replaced, and insurance isn't very happy about covering something that is wear and tear, well, we need to work effectively to get that done. Now, the roof's important, and it'll be our first major item that we'll be caring for. But quickly and closely behind is our heating and cooling systems, which many of them are very old. Some of them aren't working now, but we're dealing with that. We're keeping in mind that there will be breakdown off and on as we process through this. Anything can happen at any time, like the awning out front. We didn't expect that to happen, but it did, and so now, we have to address that. The other items that we know will have to come after the roof, possibly the HVAC, the parking lot needs to be completely redone. We need to do some things in the worship center. There are other things on the list, but those are some of the ones that are right there at the top for us. SUMC is like a home in many ways. There's seldom a day here that this building isn't open or having people come to worship or minister or bring their children to childcare. There are so many different outreach ministries. You've heard of all of them, or many of them. And those are all growing and touching lives, countless lives. We have children, we have youth, we have adults, and they come and they find a safe place. They find a comfortable place and some place that they can count on being there whenever they need to comfort to meet. For us, it's very comfortable to be here every week as long as we have the cooling when we need it, the heat when we need it, and we're not getting wet because the roof is leaking. We've named a few of the ministries that we find that our location and our building are very open to help them meet their needs. So just without thinking about ourselves, think for a moment about all of the children that come to weekday children's ministry, to the preschool, to the daycare, to people like AA who come in for their meetings in the evening. Imagine if the roof was leaking in their room, or if it was collapsing. There are in some situations where roofs actually just collapse. Or if there's no heat or it's cold or whatever, well then it's pretty uncomfortable for us, but it's very inhospitable to our guests and our friends. So keep that in mind, how important that is for us. Well, as we prepare to care for these immediate needs and the continued maintenance, what we know now, several things that have to be cared for, but there'll be things that are ongoing. Our homes, it's just like our homes. There's always something. Please prayerfully consider how to contribute and participate, either giving of your time, giving of your finances, and continuing the ministry and outreach of this church community. Any financial gifts that you are open to and prayerfully open to giving can be done over and above your budget giving, please, can be done, and you've heard this many times before. You can do that online. You can use a QR code that we provide you with. you can always stop at the church office or mail a check in. You do still mail checks in sometimes, right? Okay. There are always ways to do that. And keep in mind, what you provided for this community is unbelievable in many ways, and it's touching so many different lives, and we are so grateful for the opportunity that we all have to do this outreach and to share God's love with people that some who don't even know how that can feel. Thank you.
So friends, we've spent this little last while celebrating what God is already doing through this church. But here's the thing. God isn't done yet. The best way for us to honor the blessings of the past is to keep stepping boldly into the future. That's where get involved comes in. Grow. This fall, you have the chance to step into a new group or study. Engage. We are called not just to attend church, but to be the church in transparency. We want this to be a church where everyone feels connected and informed. So keep praying for your leaders, ask good questions, and lean in. Transparency builds trust, and trust strengthens community, and that's what we are about. And here's what excites me. So many of you are already living this out. You're volunteering, you're giving, you're showing up in ways that matter. So today is not about starting from scratch. It's about keeping that momentum going. Together we can grow deeper in Christ, engage more fully in ministry, and trust God with a future that is bigger than what any of us could imagine. So here's the invitation. Get involved. Find your next step, take it, and let's keep moving forward together. So at this time, the floor is open. Do we have any questions? And we will do our best with potential answers.
I got a mic that I'm going to bring around, so just raise your hand. And as you're thinking of questions, I want to tell you I was just talking to a person I know in Washington, D.C. area, and I told him I was getting ready for the Homecroft Elementary Festival that we just did on Friday. And he goes, your church sounds like a church I'd want to belong to. So you're doing great things for the community. Thank you.
I was wondering when the last time the roof was replaced.
Great question. And I'm going to take the mic over to Doug.
Was it 25 years, Doug?
Well, so if you remember back in 2014, we had a hail event, and all of the shingle roofs were replaced as a part of our insurance claim. That was about $125,000 back then, and so we were fortunate. In terms of the flat rubber roofs, we have 7. I don't know if you saw it on that slide, but they are various ages. The oldest one is here in this worship center, which also covers the office. And that is about almost 30 years old. It was late 90s when that was replaced, and that's where the bulk of the leaks and problems are today.
Great question. Others?
We have 2. We got one back here, and we've got, go ahead over to, really? We're going to give Jerry the mic? All right, here we go.
So the question is how long, we're going to say, so we know we need a new roof.
Yeah.
Do we go, how long is it going to last before it starts leaking? That's what I'm thinking. So if we don't have the money paid for it, what's going to happen? Is it going to leak pretty soon, or what?
So, I guess the obvious answer is that, we have leaks today. We had some leaks right there at the entrance to the east wing recently. We have leaks in the off. What do you call that area in the workroom in the office. So what we've been doing over time is paying to have those individual leaks repaired. And I don't know if you saw the slide, you can see it's quite a patchwork of repairs up there. And so to the extent that we can, until we replace the whole roof, we have to patch it.
So rubber roofs are only designed to last about 20 years. People didn't realize that when I first started doing rubber roofs. The sun does get into it, so as you patch it, that's a good thing, but that patch becomes stronger than the rest of it. And as it expands and contracts, it starts causing other cracks. So at some point, the patches won't really work. That's one thing I'd add.
So if we want to make a donation that is specific to repairs for the roof or the HVAC, how do I code that or designate it so that it goes that way?
That's great. So we do have, I think we have, there it is. Thank you so much. Awesome work, Connie. So there it is. We do have a drop down already. I'm not expecting you to be able to read it, but it does say church improvement. Brandon is going to work in making sure that church improvement is brought up higher, right underneath budget funding, but that will be the main area. So online giving, church development would be the way that we're asking people to give. Also, if you designate any funds, you have an opportunity in the options line. If you just put roof, we make sure it gets put there. So just not to get too far on the line here is that there's been a lot of internal conversations. So we're hoping to go public very soon and to be able to help raise these funds. We're not ready at this time to do that, but yes, we've already received,
We've received over 45,000 already towards it. So yes, absolutely. Praise the Lord. In your handout, there's also the QR code too. So if you get home, all you got to do is take your cell phone, scan that QR code. It will take you directly to where you need to go. It's a great question. Other questions?
yes, sir.
So do we not have a budget for taking care of this church?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So again, we're a little ahead of the card here, but I'll go ahead. We're not hiding anything. Just want to be very clear on that. We just don't have all of our ducks in a row to go public with what our plan, what we're wanting to do. So our goal is to raise to have a budgeted item where we can raise. So maintenance can have $50,000 given to maintenance every year outside of our regular budget. If we can do that, we believe not only will we be able to catch up, but we'll be able to take care of the needs that are coming in. Is that right? Oh, wait, Brandon wants to speak to that.
So, yes, but no, we always have had a budgeted line items for the maintenance of the church. We have increased that budget significantly in the last handful of years because our building is getting older. But keep in mind, we've been through a season where we did have that burden of debt, where we did put a lot of maintenance off, where we did patch instead of replace. So we've done the best that we can with it, but we are probably a little bit behind, and that's the next step. We've gotten out of debt. The next step is really getting us where we need to be with our facilities, and the roof is the biggest thing, because obviously if the roof goes bad, you got more problems coming right behind it. So it's just our next step. It's our next big thing to really become the best stewards we can of what we're given and be the best we can at using what we have and what we're given to go out in the world with it.
And in this 6 months, I have been absolutely amazed at how many maintenance projects we've had to do that we didn't realize was coming up. You know, not too long ago, we had a hole that popped up at the top of the building from, wind and things like that we had to take care of that I wouldn't have ever thought. We had our tree fall not once but twice on a fence and many, many more things that we've had to do. So yes, we do have a budget, and there's a lot of stuff that has to happen and things that we don't know that are going to happen, like a truck hit our awning. So other questions?
So we got a question over here. Just maybe the question you didn't ask that I would respond to is how do we not end up in this spot again? So right now, because of paying off debt, robbing Peter to pay Paul type of thing, we wanted to get rid of the bankers in our pocket, right? We've done that. we don't want to go back into debt. So our roof needs to be taken care of, and it needs to be, we can be creative with how we do this, but majority of it is going to be through above and beyond giving in the congregation again. But the deferred maintenance was part of a plethora of reasons, but one of them being because we did this congregation, yes, thank you for letting me be your pastor. We focused on debt elimination. Now we're getting caught up, and the goal is to make sure that we are in a good spot moving forward from here. So the language I would use in this is, yes, we are still leaning into and wanting to do, putting things in practice so that we can be good stewards moving forward.
Are we paying for the replacement of the awning, or is the insurance company?
Great question. So we're still we're finding things out. So all I have is estimates for right now. Doug, if I get it wrong, please let me know. Our deductible is $5,000. We're thinking it's going to be around $20,000. So we will be, if we were to replace what we have right now, we're guesstimating, which we don't have estimates yet, by the way, official ones, right, Doug? Only one. So our practice is to have three if we can, two if we get special permission. So 3 is what we're trying to get out there. And then Doug has already been talking to architects and friends and engineers and thinking about, hey, what would it look like if we had a permanent structure in there? Our first estimate was around $100,000. We're still in that process of learning. So if we were like right now with the information we have, it would be $5,000 out of pocket, $15,000 and to put back up. But as you know, those canopies sun fade, and Doug told me this is at least the second time he knows that this has been hit. In 23.
And what I will tell you, people are like, well, didn't the person have insurance? So here's the thing. Michaela, who's amazing, if you don't interact with her often, she's here every day during the week. She went back and she looked at the cameras so that we knew when and how it happened. It actually was hit by a U-Haul. It was hit by a U-Haul that was being driven by a homeless person who had came in to ask for help at the church. Yes, we have a first name. Yes, we have a last name. We do not have an address because they were homeless, nor do we have a telephone number. Nor do we have, even though we had it on 3 cameras, we do not have a license plate number to take it to U-Haul. We did help the individual with food. We did help the individual with a gas card. We did not pay rent or a hotel or anything along those lines because we would have likely had a little more information. But people are like, can't you go back to the person who hit it? It wasn't Amazon. It wasn't a delivery person. It was a person that was coming in for assistance. Accidents do happen, yes. And I'm not sure they knew that they caused damage. You see them pull up and then back up. I think they thought they tapped it.
So most of the work that's being done here is done by volunteers.
Yes.
You know, like the lighting. I know mostly Doug and Joe and everybody did that. I know the painting was done by volunteers, so the expense was a lot lower. All you had to do was pay for the paint. All you had to do was pay for the lights. Is there any way, just asking, if we bring in a company that volunteers can help lower the cost of putting the roof on?
I mean, all I see is liability of people being on ladders and being up on the roof. So I think Doug could very much speak more to this, but I know as just from a quick little look, there's skilled labor that I think it's worth our money is to make sure it's done right and safely.
Yeah, and while I think that's a good idea, I think that most of the contractors would probably be unwilling to partner with people who aren't familiar with their safety policies, and because they still have to honor warranty for this work as well. So I think this is one where we're just going to have to contract it.
We've been standing for a little bit. There's nothing special about this prayer, but if you will, let's just stand, and I'm going to close this with a word of prayer. God, we thank you for your faithfulness. For roughly 176 years, you have guided this church. And today we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, grateful for their faith, their sacrifice, and their courage. God, we thank you for this community of faith where we can grow together, engage fully, and trust you with our future. Bless our leaders, our staff, and every person here. Give us courage to step forward, generosity to give, and faith to follow wherever you lead. May all we do bring glory to you, and may Southport United Methodist Church continue to shine as a light of the hope and love in this community. We pray all this in your holy and precious name, and all God's people said, amen.